So, welcome again to another session of the 17th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference. I'm Bob Ailes. I'm your moderator. We have with us today Amy Conway, who is an instructional designer at Auburn University. She brings a holistic perspective to the instructional design process with prior experience as a classroom teacher, professional development facilitator, and former State Department of Education project manager. Her work focuses on instructional design for Auburn Online. We also have Betsy Gilbertson, also an instructional designer at Auburn. Betsy has decades of experience, though she started when she at a very young age.
That's where we're going to go.
Decades of experience in course design and faculty development. Our first international conference presentation was in July of 2008, which highlighted how to bring online learning to life with video. How appropriate. Not with us as part of the trio is Sean DeBowers, who's the Associate Director for Learning Experience Design. So we'll let Betsy and Amy handle the load. So take it away, guys.
Right, let me share my screen and let's just see. Are you able to see our presentation now?
Oh, yeah, looks good.
Okay, great.
All right, well, welcome to our session, which is about transforming learning through immersive technology. And we're just going to highlight some of the processes that we have gone through at Auburn University to include these things, build these things, and do these things. So our goals for this session specifically are to explain the strategic goals and institutional support that we utilize to implement these things. We're also going to explore examples of immersive learning that Auburn Online has built, and we're going to reflect on the impacts of teaching and learnings at Auburn University because that is where we did all of our work.
So first we want to talk a little bit about who all was involved in making these projects come to life. It wasn't just Betsy and me. There was a whole team of people that had a huge role in these experiences. And I also want to point out, as we move through our presentation, a lot of the imagery that you see, you may think, how does this relate to what they're talking about? We chose to use images that we pulled from some of the various immersive experiences that we've created, just to help give you even more of an idea about what it looks like, help you get a better sense and an understanding of the work that we've done. All right, so Auburn Online is housed under the Big EO Center. The Big EO Center for Teaching and Learning at Auburn University. It includes, in addition to Auburn Online, other units are the Educational Development Unit, Testing Services, and Instructional Technology. As we talk about the people that were involved within these departments and even outside of the Big EO Center, you'll hear us talk about a grant or a couple of different grants that went out to help fund some of these experiences. So there was a grant team that submitted a call for that released a call for proposals that was heavily involved in these projects. We had OIT, Office of Information Technology Project Manager, a financial manager, as well as the Auburn Online team. The Auburn Online team is made up of about 40 people, including an associate director, Chandra Bowers, who is also listed on the session presentation. She wasn't able to be here with us today. We have a creative lead. We have several different instructional designers. Betsy and myself are just two, and we'll try to call out some of the others by names as we move through. We also have a creative team that helps with the illustrating and modeling of these environments. We have a studio team that does the recording of video, audio, podcasts, 360 photos that are used in some of these environments, as well as a course production team. So all of these people work together to consult with the faculty to help envision and plan the work create it, then do the testing, provide support for implementation, help gather feedback and make revisions as needed, as well as conduct some educational research related to some of these activities.
So why did we want to go through and create all of this immersive learning experiences for our students? So there was, of course, a desire across campus for improved and deeper immersive learning that really came out of the pandemic pedagogy of largely Zoom-based remote learning that didn't feel like people were being immersed in the classrooms or in spaces that were meaningful for them. So the question was, how do we elevate student learning by empowering faculty to experiment with innovative immersive learning platforms? Because we have a team that can do that, we wanted to make sure that we could then give faculty the means to create these spaces and help leverage all of this for the students. So what are some of the opportunities that this addresses? So we have safety. We can address safety concern for lab replacement scenarios and prepping to work inside a lab. And you'll see some of these as we get through our presentation a little later. There'll be some examples. Of course, there's cost and repetition. So it lowers the cost of real life scenarios and allows for practice and repetition as well as use in multiple courses. So that's really a great thing to be able to leverage. It also allows access to impractical or even impossible scenarios where students would either not have the means to come to that lab space or wouldn't even be allowed to be in that physical space, or maybe doesn't even really exist. One of our things is completely made up space. You'll see that. So, and what does it do? It provides motivation and engagement for students because they get real life application and it makes them feel like they're actually experiencing the work in meaningful ways. And it's a very authentic learning environment, which then of course leads to authentic assessment. So, and one of the big things that everyone's trying to focus on these days is skill development as they go through the universities and what do they come out with and be prepared to be in the workforce. So these are environments that provide the means to develop those skills for students that otherwise wouldn't have a chance to develop them early in academic careers. So, of course, everything comes with some challenges. It's not straightforward and seamless always. So, of course, even though it lowers cost, there is cost up front. So you have to be able to have some, like we had grants, right? And that's how they were able to get those started. You have to have the infrastructure, much as Amy talked about our team. It takes more than one or two people to be able to build these out. Some of that can be with the software while you're building it and trying to figure it out. It can be on the user end also while they're trying to use it. One of the actually issues might even be a safety issue for them. Like, does it make them dizzy? Is it something they can be immersed in if they have some kind of medical issues or something? We need to be aware of those things. One of the other key things that we run into is clarifying the vision. We need to be able to understand what the faculty is proposing in their grants or in their project when we're working with them, and be able to bring that to life with the actual software that we have. So what are the capacities? What are the limitations? And do they have a vision, or do we need to help them actually come up with the vision? Because sometimes they don't know, right? They're like, I have this random idea and I need someone to bring it to life for me. And so we kind of walk through in many meetings and kind of bring that out. And then always most important for us as a team is, what are the accessibility concerns? How do we look at the users and make sure that everyone has access in meaningful ways? And what are the alternatives if there needs to be those? And then moving on from that, once it's built, what it does, training the teachers so that they can continue to utilize it and be able to explain it to their students so the students can use it easily. And what support does that look like? What do they need? Training materials? Do they need sessions with students? Do they need videos that support that? So we help implement all of that as well. And of course, just the basics of creating content that can be as evergreen as possible, so that moving forward, there doesn't constantly need to be a lot of changes, but if something does need to be updated, what does that maintenance look like? And then, of course, you have to have an institutional commitment to it. If we're building something and the rest of the university doesn't buy into it, then that doesn't help us maintain, build, or any of those components. So Auburn University thankfully has a CIO that created the funding opportunity that we mentioned, was the grant, which was actually called the Student Learning Through Immersive Virtual Experiences. And it really got faculty to generate some ideas to be able to leverage the virtual experience of immersive learning across our campus in all diverse disciplines, not just one in particular that might have the money, because of course some departments have more money than others. So
All right, so we've talked about the who and the why. Now we're going to start looking at the how. So I want to caution you, if you're looking for a how-to guide on using all of the different software, we are not providing that. We are going to be talking more specifically about how the organization, how the university brought this idea of creating and making available virtual experiences, how the university brought that to life. So Betsy just told you about the AUX, or the Student Learning Through Immersive Virtual Experiences grant. We sometimes refer to it as the AUX grant, so you'll hear it referred to both ways. In April of 2021, there was a call for proposals sent out to faculty to help facilitate faculty ideas for greater engagement and enhanced learning outcomes using virtual and immersive learning experiences. It was asked that the proposals really focus on using innovative technology, specifically augmented and virtual reality, that could be used to transform teaching and learning. So those were the three kind of points on the spear of what they wanted the proposals to include. Round one of the proposals, there were 6 projects that were funded that involved 10 faculty from different disciplines across campus. $192,000 worth of grant money was awarded, and it was estimated that the 6 projects would impact approximately 1,700 students per year. After that, we leveraged those early adopters by hosting a conference, a university conference, where those 10 faculty were invited to present the work that they had done. And as a result of that conference and the proposals or the presentations that people were able to see, it helped more faculty be able to envision work that could be done in their own areas of discipline. So in the spring of 2023, a second call for proposals went out, and as a result of that call, 11 projects were funded, 6 the first time, 11 the second time, this time involving 35 faculty from across campus, and $330,000 in grant money was awarded. Experiences were being built, round 1 and round 2, we were learning as we were developing those experiences in those environments. And it led us as instructional designers kind of organically to begin including more immersive type experiences in our regular classes and just the classes that we develop every day. So we began to incorporate more 360-degree experiences. We began to incorporate more interactive videos, as well as really thinking about how we can use engaging narratives and storytelling for a comprehensive and engaging design process that would help students really feel more a part of the coursework by providing them with a narrative that they could be immersed in as they were working through the content.
So we want to share what did we build? What did we create for all of these unique experiences with you? One of the first ones for round 1 of the grant was a ChemXR project. And this happened to be that we have a fabulous instructional designer by the name of Allie Brandwright that came from the chem background. She was an instructor, and she actually was part of the group that did the proposals for this grant. So when we started building it out, she knew every piece of what, why, how, and knew how the pieces need to be a part of the work that went into it, which was really an in-depth process that was successful because of her background knowledge. And so we recognized that we were able to leverage that. One of the goals of this was created because students struggle in these areas of concepts. And they wanted the students to have, I don't want to use the word remedial exactly, but if they were got caught up and had potential to fail here, this material would help them understand those key components, and they could go back to it again and again and again and again and revisit and try again and kind of engaged like they were with a real professor.
So one of the things that they discovered, Allie and her colleagues in the chemistry department discovered that students in organic chemistry sometimes really have a difficult time with 3D spatial relationships, which is a key component in organic chemistry. So I'm going to show you a video on the next slide, but I want to, it moves pretty quickly, so I want to give you a little bit of context before I go to that. They used some 3D modeling that allowed students to rotate the chiral pairs in space so they could see the differences, as well as incorporating some elements of gamification, which is what this image is representing. So let's take a look. So you can see they're able to rotate that molecule, and in doing so, they earn badges throughout the course. There's some drag and drop options, and you can see they're able to really visualize how some of these chemical compounds are created. And you can see the activation. You activated it, you defeated whatever that was. I'm not a chemist, and and they were able to move on through that. All right. Let's see. Let's get to the next slide. All right. Another project that was funded from the round one of the grant focused on food safety and sanitation. So there was an express need from our culinary program that students, well, when students graduate from the culinary program at Auburn University, they are expected to be have a certification in serve safe management. And the faculty expressed that the content for food safety and certification, these are his words, not mine, the content is boring. It is boring to teach, it is boring to learn, and the exam is tricky. And you have, with a very low pass rate on the first try. We wanted Auburn students to be better than the national average on that. He wanted to provide a way to help elevate Auburn students and prepare them for the exam. So, as well as teach them the food safety and sanitation content. So we created a series of 10 modules. It was a combination of a 3D modeling environment as well as some interactive videos. We used both of these kinds of experiences to engage students and create a story for them to follow throughout the course. So let's look at a video of this.
Food delivery day. You're in the loading bay for your restaurant.
Can you hear that?
To inspect each of the 5 delivery trucks delivering food for the week and decide if you can accept the contents. Enter each truck and complete the following tasks. Observe the contents of the truck. Note any violations that would prevent accepting delivery. And as you exit the truck, open the clipboard and indicate which parts of the delivery should be accepted or rejected.
So this is content that is in the course the students will be taking. So you can see they're going into the truck, they're looking around, they're exploring this is one of the refrigerated trucks. They can see what the temperature of the truck is. They can see that there are some clear violations. Now, note that this You Try It section is at the end of the module after they have gone through the content related to that module. So this is not the learning experience. They've already received the content, and this is a way for them to engage with it in a different way. They have to choose whether or not they should accept the delivery, reject the delivery. Why should they accept or
Because
reject?
there are live cockroaches in this truck, the entire contents of the truck should be rejected. Had there not been cockroaches, you would have needed to reject the following items. Poultry box that appears to be leaking blood. You should always reject items with leaks or signs of damage. And beef box that is stored below the poultry. Beef should be stored above poultry.
So once they finish that, they can exit that truck and visit the remaining trucks in the loading bay. We'll look at just a couple more. This particular one, we've got some expiration dates issues. We've got some cracked eggs on the floor. All of these are things that students learned about in the course that they should be able to recognize is a problem related to food safety and sanitation. So the course really takes them through the whole food delivery process, or the whole restaurant process, from receiving the food to preparing the food to serving the food. And one of the things that was really nice about this is we were able
You should reject the crate of milk with an expiration date of today because you will not be able to use that milk before it expires. You should also reject the carton of eggs that held the broken egg. It shows signs of tampering.
I learned something.
I know there was a lot. I learned so much in this course. So I'm going to go ahead, and we've got seafood, we've got canned goods, we've got a refrigerated truck, several different things throughout that course. So I wanted to emphasize that we had the opportunity, because we just built a new culinary school, a new building, that we were able to use the architectural renderings of the spaces to create these 3D environments. So that really helped as far as the design of the project. So that first round one was all web-based. Everything you saw there was embedded. It was created in Storyline. A lot of it was created in Storyline, and in those experiences were then embedded in Canvas, which is our learning management system. This next round two, the faculty members really wanted to see how learning would be impacted if students were able to be even more fully immersed in these environments. And so we created a truly VR experience. So we used the VR headsets. I think it's the Oculus 3. It's the ones that these were designed for. So in this experience, it's not web-based. It's all truly VR. And students are able to walk through that same space and identify issues related to food safety. So we've got a video of that as well. Here we've got the same space. You can see this is the same, it's the loading dock, but there's some different activities for students to engage with. They've got to check the temperature of the eggs, the temperature of the yogurt. So it's similar activities, but different. And the way the activities were chosen were based on input that we got from the faculty. So the faculty are the ones who know these are the areas that our students struggle with. These are the areas that we really want to reinforce some more. And temperature of food, of dairy versus chicken versus beef versus shellfish, are all different. And so those are things that needed to be reinforced for students. So we created, this is a video of what it looks like in the headset. Woo! That was the thermometer going off. I apologize for the volume of that. So then they get, I know it did me too. They get feedback on what they're learning. And all of these are opportunities for students to check the temperature, in this particular scenario, check the temperature of the various items. I'm going to turn this down. All right, so now we're moving into the seafood truck. Again, students are using the headset, and this particular one has the hand controllers, and that's why you're able to see the hands, because they're actually using the hand controllers that come with the Oculus 3 to interact with some of the different elements. Nope. See, we didn't put the thermometer in the right place. So that was another learning objective, that students had to know where you have to know where to put the thermometer to get an accurate reading. Let's see if I can move this along. So this one was designed with the understanding that learning experience, that we really didn't want students to be in the headsets any longer than 10 minutes or so. So each of the individual learning modules within this round 2 work was intended to only take students 10-ish minutes at the most to work their way through the module. So we had, I think, 6 different units within that students can work through when they put the headset on. So there's a menu and they choose which of these environments they want to go through. We're gonna let that, we're gonna move on to the next slide from there.
So as we said, we try to be as cross-discipline as possible so that we can leverage all of the learning that happens across the university. This particular grant was headed up by one of our instructional designers by the name of Megan Slatton, and she did some amazing work on bringing this to life with a faculty member in an area that's near and dear to us. It was done over in Montgomery, Alabama, which is an hour from us. So the project explores the lived experience of residents in segregated Montgomery. It's from the 1920s to the 1970s, and through the immersive digital experiences, users engaged with historical urban policies, such as redlining and slum clearance. This was really an ability to help them understand the lasting impact on the communities, and if they're going to school here and integrate it into their courses, then it's meaningful because it's something that they have access to or have heard of or have been to.
It was fascinating to me, Betsy, to see the impact of the urban planning and the specific details of the urban planning and how the plans made impacted those communities. It was eye-opening.
It's a great project. And actually, that project then also became integrated in the next project. They kind of overlapped a little bit because I got to head up the project for Earth as Art. And what this is based on was a national grant actually already exists that creates satellite images of Earth into Earth as Art, and it exists out across the nation. And this wanted to leverage this. And round 2 actually for the grant had a focus on cross-disciplinary in specifically. So we had various faculty across the science disciplines. And so many of these processes overlapped, which is why it also overlapped with the redlining, and we got to integrate them. So you can get to the end of one, you can click on it, you can go to the Montgomery Urban Planning, or you can click on that and you can come back to the Earth as Art projects. The Earth as Art is actually utilized to leverage some labs that are in very specific science courses. So they recreate or prep for lab work that they will do. And so this can be leveraged in an online science class, or it can be prepped for the face-to-face science classes. And they come from outer space and they learn about Earth and the greenhouse gases and redlining and those kind of things through their experience by clicking and going through all of these different spaces. One of the ones we talked about was safety and being able to make sure that students are prepped for safety spaces. We did a wood shop in an art department on campus. The faculty member did a grant because even though it is a face-to-face class, they were constantly coming to class and asking things like, can I wear these shoes? And the instructor would say, well, they're not really shoes, they're flip-flops. So the answer is no. And she was like, I've already said that 5 times, and I really want them to know that that is not okay. So we created an immersive 360 learning environment where they can click on very specific tools and then be able to see the safety guidelines that she has provided. So she gives the name, what the tool does, and then the key safety features so that they are safe once they come into the lab. They will then go through and do a practice activity of answering questions and making sure that they're prepared. And then they'll actually take a small quiz inside Canvas, and hopefully when they come to the class, they won't ask if they can wear flip-flops. One of the things that Amy had mentioned was that we were leveraging them for expanded learning experiences. So I also got to help create an HDFS online completer program that was for the early childhood development and has some NACE standards. It's preschool through, I think, grade 2. And so one of the components of that is that they had to have access to additional spaces besides the one that they're either teaching in or their core learning space. So they had to have a different location and a different age to be able to observe hours of students that are doing things so they can make recommendations of how they would address those things. The other thing is since it was a fully online program, they didn't have access to the specifically built child labs on campus that are geared towards those types of learning environments. So we created a 360 learning environment and embedded videos that demonstrated the different types of ages, different types of things you want to address, and different ways to address them, all inside this 360 lab that they will have access to within their lab courses.
Another experience that we created, and we were able to take advantage of the idea of a narrative throughout the course. I worked with the Speech Language Hearing Science program, so that's the SLHS, and towards the end of their coursework, they are required to take a practicum course. Within that, in the online environment, they needed to get some observation hours. In order to prepare them for the observations so that they know what they're looking at, they can make meaningful observations and make meaningful evaluations from those, we needed to scaffold them and prepare. We need to scaffold their learning to prepare them for that. So we did this in a couple of different ways. We created some animated videos, such as the one you see here. In this particular video, we've got the speech language pathologist and the child, which is her patient. The pathologist worked with the patient in the animated environment and evaluated the child's speech, and then worked with them, created a goal for and a target for what they needed to work towards. So they would watch the video, see what was going on in the video, and then they had to identify and write a SMART goal based on what was achieved in the therapy session. So this was reinforcing what they had learned in the content about the components of a SMART goal, and would prepare them for the observation that they had to do, the actual assignment observation they had to do later in the course. Another thing we were able to do was make use of interactive videos. So this particular video we found on YouTube, so it was okay to use. And we watched the subject matter expert, the faculty member, helped identify, okay, in this particular point in the video, the SLP is using a phonetic cue or a placement cue. There are several different kinds of cues that students needed to be able to identify, and it's hard to point those out, or just describing the cues in text, or even if a faculty were to create a video describing it, that's not very helpful. But by using interactive videos that popped up, okay, right here, this is an example of a phonetic cue being used in real life. So then students were prepared to identify those on their own when they were in the observation setting. And then the final example that we want to show you today is an online theater. So this theater experience was created for our Auburn's dual enrollment population. One of the courses that they had the opportunity to take was to get one of their fine arts requirements. They could take theater online. The program is available to students all over the state of Alabama, and many of them may not be in a place that they have easy access to a theater, a true theater. And even those who are, it's rare for a person to just be able to go in and explore all the elements of a theater, such as the costuming department or the backstage area, the rigging, the set construction. And through this online environment, we were able to provide that experience for students. I'm just going to play the video. So here we are. We've combined a couple of different elements that you've seen already. We've got some 3D modeling that took place, as well as some 360 environments. So this is a real space in the real theater on Auburn's campus. And then we also did videos of some of the experts in, oh, it paused. I apologize. Some of the experts in the field. I'm not going to touch my keyboard. So you're going to see some interviews of people in the theater program that provided information to the faculty, to the students about what was going on. So we've got live spaces. Our video keeps stopping. As you move through, we're going to just move on and not worry about that anymore. But it takes them students into, I want to say, the bowels of the theater, where they see the sets and the props and the costumes and all of that, really, they get to go up in the catwalk above the stage. So it really provides that kind of environment for students that very few people get to see.
Yes, as I would say, my daughter took that class and she lives here and I work here, and she did not have an opportunity to go walk through that space, but she really appreciated that the classroom provided her an opportunity to then learn all about the actual pieces of the stage that she was like, that's pretty cool. And she'd never done anything.
Yeah, beyond just seeing the performances, which is so often just the part of a theater class.
So of course, all of this, like we said, comes with some kind of assessment. We need to make sure that the learning is actually impactful and that it reaches those goals that we had in place, right? So we asked for feedback, not only from students, but also from faculty to see was it working for the faculty and what did the students get out of it. So these are a few of the actual quote feedbacks that faculty and students gave us, and some of the data that comes from the backside of it. So the part where it says 94 of the students strongly agree, then that was an overall data set. And then the thing like our project will reach a vast number of students is a faculty member. And so we have years of ongoing data, both qualitative and quantitative, to back this up, because of course it feels cool, right? We're really excited about what it is that we're doing, and hey, we've done all these really cool things, but what is that impact? What does it look like? And how do we know it's meaningful? So of course we look at things like grades and understanding and different types of assessment, but then we also do the feedback part. So we have a motto. We're under the provost office, and everything under the provost office, the motto is the goal is student success. And that has been the motto since I've came to Auburn 13 years ago, I think it was. And that's nice that we get to support that. As Auburn Online, we support faculty and we create these learning experiences strictly so that students have access to information and learning experiences that help them succeed, not only in school, but in real life.
And now we want to open the floor for questions that you may have. We find a lot of times when we show some of these experiences, there are a lot of questions. And so we intentionally built in a significant amount of time to answer those in any way that we can. So I'm going to unshare my screen so you can see our faces. And we would love to field any questions that you may have.
And did you see Chandra is here?
Oh,
yay, she made it. Yay, Chandra.
We didn't speak poorly of you before you got here.
Or we tried not to. No.
Oh, Heidi has a question. What kind of software was used to create some of the 360 experiences? So first, we started with an actual 360 camera. So it's really pretty impressive. It's just a very small device that sits on a tripod, and it takes a picture of the whole space. So you have to make sure that you're out of the room when you're taking a picture of that. Otherwise, you will be in the 360 space. And I don't know about y'all, but we didn't want that. And then we use a software called SeekBeak. I believe that's correct.
Yep, that's correct.
SeekBeak is the one that was used to place the individual hotspots and build out the content that was in those hotspots.
And that happens to be the one that we use. There are other choices out there, and I know we are researching some other options as well all the time. We have a team that is constantly watching what comes up and comparing it to what we use. That is the beauty of being part of a team. So our creative team looks into that, our studio looks into that. Currently, that is the one that works the best for us.
What is the camera?
Oh,
Roland just gave that presentation or just explained that. Do you remember what the camera is, Chandra? I think it is
I don't remember, but if you give me a minute, I'll see if I can find it and post it in the chat.
I know he has mentioned that he utilizes a GoPro for a lot of things, but I don't know if that's the actual 360 camera that we utilized for this.
one thing about our studio manager is he seeking out ways to upgrade that technology. So what he used 2 years ago may not even be what he's using right now because he's constantly pushing that. How can we get better quality images? How can we get better quality video, audio, all of those things?
Yeah. So, but yeah, we can certainly find out and make sure we get that information to you. That's a good question.
And honestly, that's the 360 experiences. If you wanted to start with something immersive and didn't have the full production team like we are blessed to have, the 360 environment, those experiences are a lot of people could create that on their own. I'm not going to say anybody could do it because we know that's not true, but you don't have to have all of the fancy software and skills and expertise that some of the other environments require.
And we tend to utilize that one in other areas that are geared towards ag and science. So we've utilized 360s in ag soils graduate courses. And they've gone out to the areas and actually taken 360 of, we have a little, like what we call the mini Grand Canyon near us. And so they have that, and he's done that and been able to label different types of rock and demonstrate different kinds of lab opportunities that they do there. We're also currently using it for a forestry department. So we went out and did videos about the different types of trees and grasses and all the things that you need to know about actual being in a forest. And we simply just went out, did a 360 and embedded that into a course. And those were really low stakes with high impact.
Chandra just posted in the chat a picture of the camera as well as the particular one that was used.
This one was in 2023, so he could be using something completely different at this point in time, but that's the most recent that I have access to.
Okay, thanks. I know there are a whole range of cameras from a couple $100 to several $1,000 in between. So
I believe this one was around 400.
And our studio manager is good about trying to make sure that they are cost effective, because he does make recommendations to faculty who want to go out and be able to do this on their own, such as the ag soils instructor did eventually go out and buy his own and continue the process that he was trained on through our department.
And that's really the dream, to be able to empower faculty to do it. So that, I mean, we love them to come to us, but really, more people will be impacted if they are empowered to do it on their own. And so you're right, our studio manager does a good job of trying to make things that are not so cost prohibitive.
Great question.
and that's really the key, is not being cost prohibitive, right? And eventually being really easy to use. That combination
Right.
will really expand the usage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, that was the one that was in HDFS, and they will probably in the future update some of their own spaces as well.
I'm curious whether you feel like these kinds of experiences make students more excited to go into those kinds of real spaces and have real, in real life experiences, or whether they come out of it feeling like, oh, been there, done that. Now I don't need to go to the Grand Canyon,
I would say from the experiences that I have where I've met some of the students, they're excited to go into those spaces and be able to feel confident that they belong in those spaces, and that they're less fearful of being wrong or the instructor not being nice, right? They're like, oh, this is something I am not afraid of anymore. We actually have, we just had a conference this week where they utilized some of the students from the food science,
yeah.
from the hospitality, and they actually talked about their process of being able to go through our department and feel like they are fully prepared to go out into the world and be chefs and those kind of things. One's a wedding cake baker already. She's got her own company and she's rolling, and she graduates this May. So the impact, I think that we've at least heard, the students that were in the HDFS really appreciated that they could see the spaces that were on campus and see what that kind of learning environment looks like, even though theirs is not that way. So that's the experience I've had.
Nice. Well, it seems like it gives them a realistic exposure that's low stakes. So they can, they have that whole, like, be the food safety inspector for a day without having to interact with any real humans who might be mean to them about what they're messing up or whatever. I can totally picture students, especially younger
Exactly.
folks, being
Yeah.
worried. Well,
And
even older students.
we're able to, in some of the ones that you didn't see in the food safety one, we have a whole scenario that involves E. coli and how a customer was this is made up, how a customer was impacted, and what decisions does the student need to make as the manager of a restaurant. So providing them with situations like that then gives them the confidence to like you say, go into the real world, feel like they've gone through the decision-making process to some degree with nobody's lives at stake. Or, they're not going to get yelled at because they put the beef above the chicken or whatever it might be in the refrigerator. So, yes. And then for that specific course, because the environment is modeled on the environment that the students are learning in, the kitchens that they're in, at Auburn University, that restaurant experience that we have, that we provide for students, it gives them that level of comfort. So when they go in there on the first day, the place feels familiar.
And it also helps with students who maybe they're not on the right path. Like,
No, I don't want to be doing this.
Yeah, like, I haven't invested, 4 years in code. No, this was not it for me. So they get a feeling a little sooner of what that might look like, and then they can go, I need to pivot a little bit. So
Yeah, nice. It's really cool. Thanks for showing those examples.
I'm going to put one slide up real quick, just if you want to scan it, it'll give you more information about the grant, as well as information about the Big EO Center if you are interested in learning more about either of those, and it's got some contact information there also.
And of course, show Aubie.
Yeah, Aubie, always.
We love Aubie. So
well, thank you all so much for your attention, for your time, for your engagement with the session. We appreciate that.
I appreciate it. And I'll say on my to-do list is to use virtual reality to take people below the rim in the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
My bachelor's is in media production, so I wanna
Okay.
do something like that. And for
That
people
sounds
who will
exciting.
never have the capability to do that, I'd like to show them. So,
I think we need to write a grant that sends us all to the Grand Canyon. That's what I'm hearing.
I've been there 30 times already. That's
Wow.
my favorite.
we'll back you up.
That's right.
We'll go take your
That's right.
pictures.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Thank you, Bob.